Good morning. We're going to continue reading Drinking from the River of Light, The Life of Expression by Mark Nepo. The Chord in Our Heart. Life marks us up. I was stranded in Washington, D.C. due to a storm in Chicago. It was sunny and cold, and I wandered into the National Gallery of Art, just beyond the Capitol. On the ground floor in the West Building, in two small rooms, was an exhibit called In the Dark Room, which mounted examples of early process by which photographs were developed in 1800s. We don't see many darkrooms anymore, given the ease of digital cameras, but darkrooms still offer a small, reflective solitude for serious photographers. The great photographer Ansel Adams had a very elaborate, expansive darkroom, while the Civil War photographer Timothy O'Sullivan refitted the ambulance wagon into his portable darkroom. Progress doesn't limit our toolbox, but adds to it. The way that master woodworkers don't throw away their hand tools just because they have a set of power tools. Essentially, the darkroom process involves surfacing an image already recorded on a piece of photographic paper by immersing the paper in some form of developer. After a time, exposing the paper to light and a developer causes the image to show itself. Before the image is overexposed, the development of the image is stopped by a chemical bath. Then the image, now visible on the paper, is set with a photographic fixture. During the development of the print, reducing the amount of light that is cast on an image is known as dodging a print. Letting excess light expose an image further is known as burning a print. In small gallery, I was staring into it this ethereal image of a 19th century horse grazing in a field when I began to see that this early method of surfacing photographs is, in some deep ways, analogous to how experience leaves its imprint on us. Life marks up us just that way inside. And when we can hold those markings truthfully, understandings develop in the skin of our heart. Unpacking what we've been through in the solitude of our reflection, this is our dark room. This is where we incubate our attempts at understanding until they are exposed, developed, and fixed as glimpses of truth and wisdom. And yet, when we hold back on developing what we know, we dodge the lesson waiting to be revealed. And when we overthink, through worry or doubt, the insight waiting to develop within us, we are burning our experience beyond recognition. Despite the speed of our age, we need to take experience into our heart and wait for the images of life to show themselves, all of which takes time. And any ounce of honest writing requires the courage to let the lessons of life leave their markings on us. In this, the practice of listening and reflecting etches its insights into our consciousness, and expression then develops those images into stories or poems. The ounce of wisdom we offer is always the result of the slow internalization of what life does to us. Life marks us up way inside, and when we can hold those markings truthfully, understandings develop in the skin of our heart. Feelings are paints. Poetry is awareness heightened to the point of love. Paul Roach. Dario Robleto is a leading conceptual artist whose work is comprised of meticulous reconstructions of fragments of historical objects. Born in San Antonio, Texas in 1972, his work keeps things alive in a way that always points to something larger. This is the mystical goal of all art. Robleto's installations are referred to as symbolic displays that mirror the world. He uses the stuff of history as both his medium and as collective evidence of the ways that we hurt each other and help each other. Such felt specificity is a great model for any writer. The materials he draws on range from rose petals to pulverized human bone to gunpowder found on a Civil War battlefield. The fragments he draws on evoke a presence that questions what we've done while affirming the spiritual dust that binds us. A powerful example is Robleto's piece, A Defeated Soldier Wishes to Walk His Daughter Down the Wedding Aisle, 2004. In an open space, a worn pair of knee-high boots stand in a swath of sand shoveled across the flower. In the right boot is the remnant of a wood and iron leg, obviously an early prosthetic. The shuffle marks across the sand show the weighty journey the soldier had, just to move a few feet closer to what he loved. Robledos lists his material as a cast of a hand-carven wooden and iron leg that a wounded Civil War soldier constructed for himself. The replica is made from a melted vinyl cord of Shirley's Soldier Boy and femur bone dust. The replica is fitted inside a pair of World War I military cavalry boots made from a melted vinyl record of Skeeter Davis's The End of the World. There is also an oil can filled with a homemade tincture comprised of gun oil, rose oil, bacteria cultured from the grooves of Negro prison songs, and a prison choir records Wormwood, Goldenrod, Aloe Juice, Resurrection Plant, and Rose. The remaining elements of the installations are brass, rust, dirt from various battlefields, ballistic gelatin, white rose petals, and white rice. Combining remnants in this way can jar our sense of the past until we realize that everything keeps living. Work like this compels us to feel and mix the voices of those in prison singing their songs with the hands of those pressing the records, and the blood that dried in the dirt from those battlefields with the pollen of resurrection plant, and the bone dust from soldiers long gone with torn boots worn in war, until all that suffering is ground with the pestle of art into the mortar of our consciousness, all this at once. To single out a wooden and iron leg that a wounded Civil War soldier made for himself is a deep and precise act of compassion. To enliven an alchemy of such artifacts, including the bacteria cultured from the grooves of Negro prison songs, stretches the heart to hold an army of the lost in equal measure. In this way, Robledos dissolves the boundaries between us until the viewer and the participant are one. Detailing the fragments of history, Robledo keeps the dead alive until we are forced to feel the unbreakable ways we are joined, regardless of the passage of time. This mammoth effort of detail is an instruction in presence, showing us how to embrace the scrapes and fragments of life until they remind us that we are made of the same stuff. Until one day, someone with an open, precise heart will make history of us. Robledos models the commitment to never muffle who you are and what you see, which is crucial in inhibiting your own voice. This is just as important when bringing your work into the world. In my own journey, I have learned that I can't be all the things to all the people, that I can only be who I am. This has freed me immensely. For instance, I recently gave a seminar to business CEOs. My starting point was that I don't know what it takes to be a business leader or a CEO. That's not my job. My job is to explore the inner life we all share and how we meet the world with our soul. It's their job to apply whatever speaks to them to how they live. And so, whatever your calling, I support you wholeheartedly in not trying to shape your hard earned wisdom to fit a particular audience. I encourage you to be who you are completely, no matter who you're with. Whether you're working with bankers, engineers, or hospice, nurses, they are the ones who have the expertise to make good use of whatever you share. My experience has been that it's more important to go deep than wide. This doesn't mean that I'm not sensitive to the particular circumstances of those I meet, but under whatever histories we wear, or ambitions we dream, or the roles we struggle to fit, we are all naked and vulnerable. In the same spirit, when I speak at medical schools, I'm not a doctor or a nurse, and so I can't add anything to the technical knowledge they need. But as a cancer survivor, I know a great deal about life and death and how two are up in our face and heart constantly. This is what I can share. So, whatever your gift, I urge you to be yourself so you can open up a heart space for the people you're privileged to journey with, whether they are surviving the death of a loved one, or a social worker's grief, counselor, or a convention of mayors. Offer yourself out of the work you've already done in becoming who you are, and give of yourself from there. We must try to value our deepest presence and summon the courage to have the presence be our instrument. Later in life, the vibrant Walt Whitman said, "If I had gone directly to the people, read my poems, faced the crowds, got into immediate touch with Tom, Dick, and Harry, instead of waiting to be interpreted, I'd have had my audience at once." When starting out, the great sculptor Augustine Rodin had a penetrating and generous drawing teacher, Horace, who taught him that one looks with the eyes, but one sees with the heart. Your heart is such a fine, fine brush, and your feelings are its paints. Today is the only canvas. The commitment to never muffle the full terrain of who you are and what you see is crucial to inhibiting your own voice. The energy of hope. I believe that teaching, reading, and writing all have to do with searching. Each involves searching for wholeness through dialogue and experience. When that search involves other living things, we find ourselves in the province of learning and teaching. When that search involves other living things that are not present or of our time, the dialogue takes the form of reading. And when that search involves things that are present and living, but not yet visible or known, we have entered the creative realm, which includes writing. These forms of search are really inseparable. They constantly impact each other. In truth, a teacher is someone who is actively involved in all three forms of search, whether they have a classroom or not, whether they are reading the wind instead of a book, or whether they ever write it down or not. At the heart of it, learning is really seeing, while writing is really internalizing what is seen through the life of our expression. And teaching is asking questions about what is seen and taken to heart in an effort that, if honestly entered, usually leads to seeing further and taking in more. One of the most shocking moments during my illness with cancer occurred when I was desperately in search of some poetry that could help me live. Almost everything I turned to was dark, chaotic, and surly, and ultimately of no use. I was barefoot. It made me reevaluate the journey of literature. For if we can't add to our authenticity of living, writing becomes just another parlor game on the edges of abyss. This disturbed me and forced me to uplift myself while not minimizing the difficulties I faced. Since that time, I try to render both the light and the thing that blocks the light, whatever form it takes, the way an explorer tries to leave an accurate map. Now, I write in service of the light that seeps through every crack, and in the service of useful maps. Now, I read through things mostly in an effort to become whole. Abraham Heschel Naomi Shihab Nye, Carl Jung, the Upanishads, Chuangzi, Ursula Le Guin, Lao Tzu, and Tu Fu. They all have something in common with an eternal principle that informs modern recovery programs. That principle says that healing takes place in the presence of another. Very often, when literature or art does not enable healing, it's because the writer or artist, the steward of the message, is not present. Most of what I read when I was ill didn't help because the writer had sealed off all the possibility of communion with the reader. All the hope was precluded, making the utterance useless. It is a misnomer that hope is idealistic and saccharine. In actuality, hope is the energy of life filtering through the honesty of all its impediments. In our modern era, we endure a culture of hiddenness and denial, which has left most people frantically searching for the true energy of hope. Hope is the energy of life filtering through the honesty of all its impediments. Fitting things together. I'm in awe of relational power of creation. That is, what happens between the thing created and the creator. Just as the transformative moments of love led us into a sweet place, where what is loved and the lover merge, become one, and are no longer distinguishable. So too, with the created piece and the thing compelling the artist to create it. In this regard, Albert Schweitzer might be considered a more meaning bearing artist than Andy Warhol. For Schweitzer appears to have been more deeply transformed by his journey to create a hospital in Africa than Warhol, who seemed to function as an innovative, though rarely affected, catalyst in his prodigious output of painting after avant garde painting. The transformative power of creativity is available to everyone, whether we have talent or not, for ability or prowess is not the point. This notion of art is focused more on the impact of the process than on the result, more in keeping with the fundamental sense that gives rise to Tibetan sand mandalas and Navajo and sand paintings. In both cases, artists devote themselves to the creation of intricate sand murals that sometimes takes months to form. For Tibetan artists, the entire venture is a prayer to the impermanence of life. Once complete, they chant and bow and wipe aside the painstakingly inlaid colors sand as if the painting never happened. Navajo artists simply walk away and let the Great Spirit finish their painting by making it disappear under the fingers of the wind. For these indigenous artists, the journey matters more than the beautiful artifacts their efforts may produce. It's interesting to note that the word art comes from the Latin ars, which means craft or skill. But what kind of skill? If you look further, the word's Indo European root means to fit together. At the heart of it, we could say that art involves the craft or skill of fitting things together. As such, it is a lifelong capacity that lives in everyone. For part of being human is the never ending task of fitting things together. So, art is a creative, expressive means by which we come to understand our human experience. The word art also shares a common root with such words as arm, harmony, ordinary, and right. Such a confluence points to perennial purpose of art, to discover harmony through the ordinary ritual of making things. Whether we create a wheel, a garden, a relationship, it is by fitting things together into working whole that we make sense of being alive. The capacity of art that lives in everyone is a seed of transformation we each carry, a way of knowing and making that can lead us to what is true over what is great, a way of searching that can lead us to what is worth celebrating over any short lived illusion of celebrity. By trying to create, we are created. By trying to express, we are expressed. By trying to discover meaning, we become meaningful. So, The measure of great art can be understood not so much by the beauty achieved in birthing a singular piece, but more by the transformation it births in us for the journey of creating it. It is not the thing created that renews us, but the creative act that restores us to a place in the mystery. We are all artists, wanting to create and waiting to be created, each of us shaped by our devotions and trials and fitting things together. Everyone is privileged to live the artist's journey, if only we dare to voice what we feel. When we do, passages unfold. Early on, most of us use our gifts as a way to learn about the world we've been born into. This is a time of the first. Everything is new and everything triggers wonder. Once the world becomes somewhat known, the hunger for wonder continues, and we begin to seek out what is unique, what is special. Often, this is a part of our search for identity to find one's place as distinguished from everyone and everything else. In time, though, through some clear and ambiguous suffering, most of us, if resilient enough to keep growing, find ourselves transformed and humbled into an eternal perspective that makes us look for comfort and meaning in what we have in common with the living. Now we search for the living center and source that lies at the heart of everything. A different kind of identity is found that there is more empowering and enduring. For those who continue to be shaped by their journey, life becomes a sacred expedition of seeking moments of love, epiphany, and wisdom. Then, the art we leave behind is the trail of timeless want to bear witness and belong to something larger than one's self. Over a lifetime, we experience an evolving sense of fitting things together through which we are put together. Of course, the journey is fraught with obstacles and derailments, all of which contribute to shaping us further. Ironically, we all begin wanting to be instrumental, wanting to alter the world and achieve great things. Yet, if blessed, we are honed and pared down to a hollow bone that longs to be an instrument, through which the greater forces there play the music. At each juncture, we can stray from our capacity to fit things together. When we lose access to our creativity, we lose access to wonder. This in turn distances us from the resource that is life. We may continue to gather and sort enormous amounts of information, but this is not the same as releasing life force by fitting things together. Rather, gathering and sorting it like hoarding mounds of kindling with no way to light it. A poignant example of this can be found in one of the last letters Charles Darwin ever wrote. Up to the age of 30, or beyond it, poetry of many kinds, such as the works of Milton, Gray, Byron, Wordsworth, Coleridge, and Shelley, gave me great pleasure. But now, for many years, I cannot endure to read a line of poetry. My mind seems to have become a kind of machine for grinding general laws out of a large collection of facts. And if I had to live my life again, I would have made a rule to read some poetry and listen to some music at least once every week. The loss of these tastes is a loss of happiness and may possibly be injurious to intellect and more probably to the moral character by enfeebling the emotional part of our nature. The journey of art and its impact on each of us is a powerful source of wakefulness. Yet, the power of art to shape us had been muffled in our society until art has been quarantined as an abstract pursuit of beauty or a sophisticated form of entertainment. Nothing could be further from the truth. Meaningful art, enduring art, and the transformative process it reveals keeps us alive. So, where are you in this lifelong quest to fit things together? What are you creating, and how is it creating you? What have you tried to do, and how has it undone your early intent? How is life making you whole? Just what is the mirror of the world holding up to you? And what is it trying to say? The capacity of art that lives in everyone is a seed of transformation we each carry, a way of knowing and making that can lead us to what is true over what is great. And with this, we end part one. We will continue part two next time. Thank you.